Right, welcome to Minor Prophets, where we talk about major points from the minor prophets. Ooh, what is that?
It stopped.
Okay, right. So today's class, according to the schedule, I'll have to send you notes for Joel and Amos, because no one was in that class.
Because I got confused.
You got confused?
Yeah, I thought it was the last next week.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Today we're doing Obadiah and Jonah. We're doing two books within one class. But we can do it. And if not, we don't. And so, firstly is, what do you know about Obadiah?
Don't know. I don't know him very well.
You don't know where?
Oh, that hid the prophets.
Pardon?
Was he the one that hid some prophets in the cave?
Is he the one that hid some prophets in the cave? No.
He was that one.
I believe, I could be wrong, and correct me if I am for the people on YouTube. I believe that was Elijah.
No, he hid in a cave.
He hid in a cave?
Yeah, but Obadiah apparently hid prophets in a cave. I don't know.
You might be getting a prophet wrong, because...
Hid.
Okay, well, just take a little break here. We're going to check something. What prophet hid other prophets in a cave, huh? What prophet?
Yeah, Obadiah hid 100 prophets of Yahweh in 2 caves to protect them from Jezebel.
Oh,
Right?
Does it say it's Obadiah?
Yeah, in 1 Kings he did it, but not in this book.
Now, it's important. Obadiah is a common Israelite name, and there are 12 others in the Old Testament.
There you go. It's probably different ones then.
The first Obadiah being mentioned in 1 Kings chapter 18, and the last Obadiah mentioned in Nehemiah chapter 12. So you have 12 other Obadiahs.
Confusing.
So yes, you're right. Can I confirm that that's the same Obadiah? I don't think I can. But there's one in Nehemiah too, if you're ever wondering. So, okay, what else do you know about Obadiah?
That's it.
Alright, excellent stuff. Now, moving on to Jonah. What do you know about Jonah?
Jonah was a prophet that God called to preach to Nineveh because he was going to destroy it. And then he didn't want to because in his mind he knew that if he preached and they repented, God wouldn't destroy the city. So he went on a ship, and then there was a storm, and then they were like, "What's going on?" I said, "It's me, God's punishing me." And then he ended up in a really big fish's tummy.
Yeah.
And then ended up in Nineveh in the end, preaching it, for saving them.
Amen. That's true. Well done. You know a lot about Jonah. Now, okay, so, firstly, dear Lord, touch us, refresh us, have your way, speak to our hearts, speak to our minds, let us learn of your word and grow closer to you and put everything we learn into practice in whatever way we can. In your precious name, Jesus, we pray. Amen. Now, Obadiah, interestingly enough, here's a cool fact about Obadiah, is the shortest book of all the minor prophets. But more people can tell you the story of Jonah, which is twice as much than the book of Obadiah. It'll take you maybe 3 minutes to read all of Obadiah.
It's like one chapter.
Yep. But for some reason, I don't know why, I do know why. Not a lot of people read the book of Obadiah. Because they just kind of don't know what's going on anyway. So, okay. So, this is really interesting. So the name Obadiah means worshipper of the Lord. Worshipper of the Lord.
Worshipper of the Lord.
21 verses, shortest minor prophet book. Shortest, yeah, that's correct. Struggling there. The book of Obadiah is as powerful and relevant as all the major books. Obadiah is just as important as Isaiah with all his chapters. Alright? But Obadiah likes to get straight to the point. Like, I'm Obadiah. If they told me to write a paper, I'm like, boom, everything in one little thing. I don't need to tell you everything. So this is a nice standard uni paper right here by Obadiah. Keeps it concise, keeps the content right, laser focuses on the important issues. Something interesting again, I just told you there, is there's 12 other characters called Obadiah in the Old Testament, so don't get confused by them.
That's a popular name.
I guess so. It really is. We have no clue as to his background, his family, his location, or his primary occupation. We're not even really sure if the person who wrote it was called Obadiah. He's a mysterious man. Ooh. That's why I can't confirm for you whether he is the same prophet who hid the other prophets.
Okay.
I'm sure you can look at a timeline scale and figure out actually if he is the same one.
What he's talking about.
Yeah. Now, of course, prophets are always seers. They see something from God before they say anything. Obadiah fits this description, calling his book the Vision of Obadiah. Verse 1. The Vision of Obadiah is what it says there. Indicating that he had been granted a supernatural revelation of the message of God. Right? Now I just need to make sure here. So before we go in here, what we notice something is that the Israelites are being attacked. Can you tell me who the Israelites are being attacked by?
Edom? Is that Edom? No.
No, not Edom. Edom's not attacking them.
Is it on here to know who it is? Bibles. The Esau people. Is it the children of Esau? Or no?
No.
Tell us.
Looking for it. Da. God, you can do it. Who are they being attacked by?
The Philistines. No?
Are they?
The Philistines. The vision knows the rise. That is rise up against her in battle. Is it not from foreigners into history? I don't know. I don't know who they're being attacked by. Isn't it them doing the attacking? So.
No, so this is your homework for next week. You have to tell me who's attacking them. But I'm gonna tell you a story of why
they're being attacked.
No. So we come into the scene, right, of the book of Obadiah, and they're being attacked. Who's getting attacked? The Israelites are getting attacked, right? And the Edomites are standing by the side, watching, and kind of like fans cheering on and going, woo, get them, get those Israelites. And it even says, while the other enemy was retreating back, they had left some people behind. And Edom felt responsible to go get those leftover Israelites and take them to the enemy and go, hey, you forgot these guys as well. And it says once they were taken out, they went in, they looted, they took all the gold and all the nice stuff from their neighbors. Now, let's go all the way back with me to Abraham, right? Now tell me, Abraham's wife was?
Sarah.
Yeah, and Sarah had?
Isaac.
Yes. And then Isaac had?
Jacob.
Whose wife's name was?
Leah and Rachel.
That's Jacob's wives.
Yeah. Whose wife? Isaac.
Isaac's wife.
No.
Isaac's wife had is Rebecca.
Yes, there you go, yeah.
Yes, and Rebecca was pregnant. And she had 2 boys in her tummy and her stomach hurt so bad. Which I think that's normal if you're pregnant, right? But it says it hurt so bad she had to go inquire of the Lord. And she said, God, what's going on inside my stomach? It's killing me. And God says, there's 2 nations inside you that are fighting. And she gave birth to her first son, and his name was Esau. And from Easton, the second son, who was the second born, grabbing his heel, Jacob. And therefore, there was this little jealousy between them. Jacob wanted to be Esau. Esau didn't care. And eventually, one day, you know the story, the birthright, the porridge. Esau's angry. Jacob's a little bit scared. And so, as we go down into the future, eventually, Jacob has his own people, his own tribe. Esau has his own people, his own tribe. And Jacob's name was changed from Jacob to?
Israel.
And Esau's name was changed from Esau to?
Edom.
Edom, that's correct.
That makes sense now.
So now you have the Israelites and the Edomites. Which essentially, they're basically...
the same people, kind of. They're all related.
Yeah.
Messed up.
Okay, now you're catching my drift. So, one day, all of a sudden, Israel is under attack. And guess who's watching all of this and not helping their brother? The Edomites. They're just like, oh, look at that. Why would we want to help you? Don't you remember your ancestors took the birthright from us? So there's jealousy going on in that book. Okay, where am I? So now you get the context of what's happening in Obadiah.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So, in the face of this onslaught, Judah desperately needed help. They needed help. God directed Obadiah to remind the Edomites that their nearest neighbors, they had done exactly the opposite. The Edomites were the nearest neighbors, and they didn't even help. They were supporting. They were cheering. You stood aloof, verse 11 says, on the day you stood aloof while strangers carried off his wealth and foreigners entered his gates and cast lots for Jerusalem, you are like one of them. The very fact you didn't help and did nothing was just almost as good as you being one of them. He didn't stand for justice, which is another principle, I guess, yes, is when you see some kind of injustice and you choose to ignore it or look the other direction or walk away from it, to a degree you are almost, it's not like you're neutral. You're almost just as good as the person committing the injustice.
Yeah.
And that's what God tells them, right? By not helping Judah, the Edomites was guilty as those who were savaging Jerusalem. Yet, Verse 12, do not gloat over the day of your brother in the day of his misfortune. Do not rejoice over the people of Judah in the day of their ruin. Do not boast in the day of their distress. I will say I grew up in a family. I have a big brother and I have some sisters. And sometimes when they got in trouble, I was happy. Okay? I was like, yes, justice. What?
I got that. A revenge for that punch you gave me.
Exactly. But here in this situation, this God's like, no, that's a no. We don't do that, right? So all of a sudden now it's always been a fight between the Edomites and the Israelites. The Edomites and the Israelites. Now, if you read on, God is patient with Edom. He is, but this was the last straw. And you know what is God's patience is amazing, but it's not unending. God's patience is amazing, but it's not unending. And so he gives them a warning, right? Here's the outline of the book of Obadiah. Judgment of Edomites, that's the first outline. And the second outline is restoration of Israel. Not very complicated outline, it's basically it. We judge Edom and we restore Israel. And then it goes on, can you read for me verse 15?
15. For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head.
Okay, so he says, listen, what you've done, it's going to come back to you. It's coming back to you. I've seen the injustice against your brother. So this basically is a story about brothers. Obadiah is called, if I can title the book of Obadiah, it's called Help a Brother Out. Help a Brother Out is basically what it's called. They didn't help their brother out. Literally, help your brother out. And so, basically, if you read for me, verse 18.
And the house of Jacob shall be a fire.
Okay, that's talking about restoration of whose house?
Israel.
Yes. Go on.
And the house of Joseph a flame.
We're not really concerned about his house. Go on.
And the house of Esau for stubble.
Uh-oh, those are the Edomites.
Yeah.
And
they shall kindle in them and devour them.
Oh, that's a warning from God. It says it's going to devour. Now this is the craziest part. Listen to what it says.
And there shall not be any, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it.
When was the last time you heard of Edomites?
It did. Gone.
What about the Israelites? Still here. Where's the land of Edom? Gone. Who are the people of Esau? Gone. None are left. Imagine that judgment.
They don't even exist in the earth anymore.
That's crazy that was the promise.
Oh.
Okay, now I guess we'll finish off here real quick. Here's something interesting. And maybe you never picked up one. When Jesus was born, there was a prophecy that some people have heard about, that this is the new king coming.
Yeah.
And so, there was a king called, what was his name?
Herod.
And he declared, or he made an order to what?
To kill.
Oh, yeah.
Like anyone that was under 2.
Yeah, basically. To kill this king. And here's something interesting. Jesus was a Jew. From the bloodline of
Judah.
Yes. In conjunction connected to who? Who was Judah's dad?
Jacob.
Yes. King Herod was an Edomite.
How did he exist? What was gone?
One of the last few remaining, one of the last few descendants. Isn't it interesting?
How do we trace that?
How do we trace if he was how he was an Edomite?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it say it on? It literally says it.
Dun, 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 dun. No. Hold on.
Herod the king. Must be in the records.
Are you looking at the records?
I'm gonna. The king of Judea. Judea.
Herod? King appointing Herod the Great as king over the reign. He took the title King of the Jews. As such acquired a notorious place in biblical history when Jesus was born. Sent to a newborn child and reported by.
I saw it somewhere, but well, yeah, Herod's father was by descent an Edomite. It's actually historically written down.
Yes.
There you go. You're right. Haha.
It's great. So the book of Obadiah literally takes us way into the future of the conflict between Jacob and Esau. The fight never ends. And he even, isn't it ironic? King Herod the Edomite declared himself king of the Jews.
When he wasn't.
Saying, hey, but technically, think about it. He was supposed to have that birthright.
Yeah. Because of Esau was meant to be the first one.
But because of that mistake, which it's terrible to say, but sometimes we don't know the repercussions of
just that one.
Of just thing. That one thing.
That you had to have.
Yeah. And the long-lasting effect, the generational effect it has. Yeah. But anyway, long live the Edomites. Well, no. Long live the Israelites. The Edomites are all gone. That is essentially the book of Obadiah. That's it.
So it talks about basically, what do you call that? Sibling rivalry taken to the max.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sibling rivalry taken to the max. In every way. It's crazy. The theme of the book is destruction of Edom and restoration of Israel. It's the shortest of the minor prophet books in the Old Testament, obviously. Wait a second. 11, and they're carried off as well. Yep, and we have to start with Jacob and Esau, and then we would understand. But that's it. And a great illustration is Jesus and King Herod. That's Obadiah. Now somebody next time goes, I can't remember what Obadiah is about. Like, let me tell you. Let's start with Abraham. And bang, that's it. Okay, now to the book of Jonah. Okay, book of Jonah. What does Jonah mean?
Oh, I don't know.
It means dove.
Dove.
Usually dove represents peace of some kind. Obviously Jonah really doesn't personify that very well. He's not really the face you want on a poster to represent peace and harmony and agreement.
Or monk. War or something.
How do we know? One thing to also is really great is the validity of Jonah, because some crazy stuff happens in Jonah, but 750 years later, Jesus references Jonah. So, you know what? If Jesus references Jonah, I'm gonna reference Jonah too. Okay, so he basically references Jonah as a legitimate source.
Source, yeah. Because they've done, like, scientists are like, oh, you can't survive in a whale, and like, blah, blah, blah.
There's a lot, literally, because of that, there are hundreds of arguments about that. People have spent time trying to understand the possibilities, how it's impossible. And on top of that, it doesn't say whale in the Bible, it says fish.
Big fish.
Big fish. But also granted, in this era of time, nobody was that well educated in marine life. So everything was a big fish.
Big fish.
Big fish. I'm pretty sure that's an octopus. It's a big fish with legs.
God has gone out of the fish belly.
Yes.
It must be some sort of a fish that we don't even know.
Exactly. What else do we know about Jonah? Is dove. Jonah is a runner, really good at running, cross country, the best ever. So, if you read for me chapter 1, verse 1.
Now, the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying.
Continue. Now, obviously, we know that Jonah is the author of the book of Jonah. His dad is Amittai. And the word of the Lord came to Jonah, which is awesome again. He had a word. He's not just some crazy guy. Carry on.
Arise. Go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for the wickedness has come up before me.
Excellent. Boom. So he gets a command, his code. Now, one question I want to ask you is, why is it that a lot more people know the book of, let's say, Jonah, and have read Jonah, know the story of Jonah, but like the shortest book one of the shortest books in the Old Testament, like Obadiah, not many people are familiar with. Why is that? Why is Jonah much more world renowned, more read?
Got swallowed by a fish and survived.
What?
Every little kid in Sunday school will remember that.
I'm pretty sure there's other stuff in the Bible that have happened. What about Elijah calling 2 she-bears to kill everybody, or the youth?
Just like it. It's a nice name too, Jordan.
That's a nice name. Here's why I believe it's the most read story. Why it's easy is because there's no symbolism, there's no crazy. The story is in order. It's easy to follow. Literally, I can tell you the story of Jonah is God calls him, he says no, he runs away, gets swallowed by a fish, comes back, preaches to Nineveh, story done.
It's like all chronological.
Yeah, it's all in chronological order.
I can remember it really easily.
Yeah. Like, because I was teaching, Jeremiah this afternoon, and I was like, okay, so chapter 21 actually happened before chapter 20 was written. It's all mixed up. I was like, this scenario actually takes place in 2 Chronicles chapter 4. Like trying to explain, okay, this part is actually completely told here. It's not a complete straight story. But Jonah is simple, straight to the point, goes forward. So, Jonah is an anti-hero, of course. He's called to save everybody, and he wants to do his own thing. He gets called by God, and he runs away. He's from kind of like the 8th century. Nineveh, which was then what was Nineveh? No, Nineveh is where?
Is it in the Levant somewhere?
What country is Nineveh in?
Frozen.
Now, while you're reading this, right? Israel is having an amazing time of peace. Nobody is against Israel. Nobody is trying to fight Israel. They're just doing their own thing. And all of a sudden, God comes and speaks to Jonah, this man of God, this prophet, to go and speak to Nineveh. Now, Nineveh is the capital city of Assyria. Assyria, right? And I love the way the book is. It doesn't explain too much. It just says, God calls Jonah, gives him a command, and it says, but Jonah ran away from the Lord. Jonah wasn't just content saying no to God. He was like, I want to make sure you understand what my no means and looks like. I'm going to go the opposite direction and do my own thing. Now, why do you think Jonah ran away?
Why do you think Jonah ran away?
Yeah.
He didn't like the Ninevians.
Nope.
Well, just go to me.
Now,
No.
Nineveh was their enemy, firstly, right? It was their enemy. And he just hated people from Nineveh. He was a bigot, he was a racist. He just didn't like, obviously they don't put that part in Sunday school, but Jonah was a racist. He was just like, I hate people from Nineveh. Those people are disgusting. Ew.
I want them to die.
Yeah,
I agree with your judgment.
Yeah, he's like, you can help my people, but when it comes to those people, no way. Now, what is Israel supposed to be? They're supposed to be a light to the
world.
Yeah, and he's like, not that part of the world. That's not for sure. Those people are lost. He hates.
Taylor.
So, and also on top of that is Jonah only lived 500 miles northeast of where Jonah lived. Is also that's how far he lived. It's a long journey, but it's not a crazy journey. Okay, I'll give you, it's like kind of like, okay, I don't know the geography of England.
500 miles, did you say?
500 miles.
I see. So, from Exeter to Scotland is 502.5 miles.
Yeah.
So like that, like it's up in Scotland somewhere. Nineveh's in Scotland.
Wow. Okay, wait. I want you to check this. I speak I am one of the Journal's responsibility. Go one direction, you tend to go down. Instead of beginning to find out more attraction with this job. Then he traveled he traveled to Tarshish, which is 3,000 miles.
From where he is?
Yeah, so
what?
So let me see. What's 3,000 miles away from Exeter?
Right. So where was Jonah living at the time?
He was living in Israel, Jerusalem.
Israel, which was close.
Which was only 500 miles away from Nineveh. But he went to Tarshish,
which is 3,000 miles.
3,000 miles away. Now, if Exeter to Scotland, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Is about 500 miles. He went the opposite direction, 3,000 miles away.
What's that?
That's how much he hated Nineveh. Like,